camcorders, film cameras, and even cell phones that shoot video, everyone can make movies. Filmmaking is the new garage band. This is Framelines, the show about people making movies right here in Ohio.
Framelines is brought to you in part by Backyard HD, Tape Central, Production Partners Media.
Our featured filmmaker is Cleveland's Johnny K. Wu, known for his action movies.
I made 2 features and also produced 1 feature. The first one is the Twisted. We haven't completed done yet, but it's under the can. It's actually a story about a guy who's a diplomat's son who falls in love with another son, but then he also gets hired by the embassy to do some killings. It's based on a real story, but a little bit twisted a little bit, obviously. And then we had The Rapture, was shot in 2005.
Of course I knew it was him. Mr. Big was no threat to us. You are. It was good of the captain to lure you out of hiding as his last useful act.
For 11 days, it was one of the challenges because when we started doing that, we originally did a Joker's card, which is a short film. It did really, really well, and so we said to everybody, well, let's get together and try to do a feature that we can distribute. So we did The Rapture. The sci-fi anime style, action, martial art with lots of wire stunt work. We managed to pull it off, and we got really, really great people to work together. We can do it in 11 days because we had 2 teams shooting at the same time. So you actually break apart the responsibility for each team, and we can do a good job. And we also got fortunate enough that The Rapture was shot no more than 6 to 8 hours a day. So except for the first 5 days, it's 15 hours, but everybody had a good time. The Rapture got a sales rep that got distributed to Japan, Serbia, Germany, and I believe also Thailand. Because of my involvement in the filmmaking back then, and I kind of got myself into a lot of different events, a lot of different opportunities. So it helped me kind of establish myself in Cleveland. Then when I started making more movies, I put it all over the places and felt like there's a need for a filmmaking group. And thanks to IndieClub.com, we decided to create one called ClevelandIndieClub.com. And that actually brought a lot of people together and make it a really, really good place. We have about 300 Cleveland filmmakers in our list. And we get together once a month, and there's about 40 to 80 filmmakers that comes out and just have a good time and talk and chit-chat and BS a little bit and showcase each other's films.
This is gonna be nummy nummy. Here comes the airplane into the hangar. Oh, it's a good zombie, yes. There we go. Oops, sorry, got a little bit on your chin. That's okay. Here's some more.
I'd like to talk to you about something very important, my friends. An issue very close to our hearts and our brains. We all know who's responsible for the recent outbreak of zombieism on the south side of town, don't we, my friends? It's not something in the water. It's not the iodine in the salt. And it's certainly not the nuclear power plant outside of town. No matter how many three-eyed fish those tree-hugging enviro Nazis claim to find. No, we know who's at fault.
You want to become a filmmaker, take it seriously, learn the process, and don't always do it for free or give everybody free things. Because eventually when you get to the point where you make so much movie, you can't give away for free or ask people to do it for free anymore because you have a name, you have a credential with it. So people need to remember that all the time. Filmmaking in Cleveland is really, really diverse. We have really talented people, professional like David Litz, Adam White, and so on. And then we have really beginners from high schools who actually come out and shoot film and get to learn to the process. And there's a scene, there's lots of movement going on. And my understanding, the way I know is, at least right now, today, there's at least 20 people I know of making movies right now. So that's very impressive to say. However, there's not enough caliber enough to say that we can work in a Hollywood film yet. I mean, because we're still learning process. We have great city, we have a great area, but resources here. I mean, we do have it. It just take time. Maybe a couple years from now, everybody will be better. So who knows?
Framelines puts a spotlight on Film Dayton, an organization dedicated to promoting film in the Miami Valley.
I'm Eva Buttacavoli, the director of Film Dayton. We're an organization that's about 3 years old. We're a not-for-profit that connects the film industry in Dayton to the film industry across the country. We present programs including the annual Film Dayton Festival, which highlights films made by Dayton filmmakers and the best of the festivals across the country. We also produce monthly networking, film industry networking and film interested meetings that are called Film Connections. We host a website that has all sorts of information that connects our regional filmmakers to what's happening across the country. And we also work with the state and developing and promoting the state film tax incentive. Film Dayton has been in existence for about 3 years. We were born from an initiative that hoped to keep creatives living and working in Dayton. There were 5 initiatives, and as a matter of fact, 2 of those initiatives are still going strong. One is Film Dayton, and as a matter of fact, I was the first paid person from that initiative. So we've got a lot of creatives here in Dayton, and now I'm one of the living and working creatives. You know, we're lucky in Ohio. We have really strong film office in Columbus, the Ohio Film Office, and we have several strong film commissions. Film Dayton isn't a film commission. We seek to connect filmmakers to opportunities across the country. Film Connections started out as an informal, fun way for filmmakers to network, to show each other things they've been working on, to find fellow crew members to work on projects. It's a little bit of that, it's a little bit of showing off, it's a little bit of critique. It's a lot about meeting people in the industry that live and work here in Dayton. It's also become a place where people that are just interested and maybe make films on the weekends and maybe just are interested in what takes place behind the scenes. Students, people that are looking at second careers, or even people that are just thinking of it as a hobby. The film community in Dayton, Ohio is built on an amazingly strong foundation, which is the motion pictures program at Wright State. It is fortified by filmmakers and mentors like Julia Reichart and Steve Bognar, who are on our board and serve as mentors, as well as other filmmakers that live in Dayton and work across the country, and filmmakers that graduated from the Wright State program and live across the country. It is sustained by the people that decide to still work here, the crew people that make their living and decide to stay in Dayton. And Dayton has a thriving art scene. Everything that comes together, from music to photography to animation, all of those people are interested and support the filmmaking community as well. Film Dayton is important because it merges not only the arts, but it really creates an economic impact. There is a future for filmmaking in Ohio and in Dayton.
Coming up next, for some of you beginners, Scott Spears walks us through some helpful filmmaking tips.
In this tip, we're going to talk about lighting units, and these are the lights that you bring to set to light your subjects. They can range from anything from this style LED light to tungsten style light to fluorescent style light that's lighting me right now. Let's break down the units. Here's your basic 1K open face light. It's not focusable. It's, again, a 1K, which means 1000 watts. And one thing I want to talk about is if you need to replace a light in one of these units, don't touch the bulb with your fingers. The oils from your fingers will be like a frying pan oil. It'll cause the bulb to explode. So always wear some gloves or hold a piece of plastic, or etc. Here's your basic 600 watt open face light. It has a focusable beam. You can tighten it or widen the beam by using the knob. It comes with a set of barn doors that you can close down to make a nice slash or a pattern on your wall. And you can also attach gels to this. Here's another open face light. This is a 1K and it's focusable and it comes with a set of barn doors. The one thing different about this light, it has a safety screen in it, so if the lamp would explode, the bulb fragments won't fly out and burn your talent up. They don't like that. It's not fun for them. Here's a Fresnel light, and what makes a Fresnel special, it just has a lens in it, and what this lens does, it gives you a more even spread to your light. Where open face lights can have spots, hot spots to them, this is going to be even, almost edge to edge. This Fresnel also has a focusing knob that allows you to move the light back and forth so you can get a wider or tighter beam out of it. One thing we need to talk about is color balance in lights. This is a tungsten light. It's 3200 degrees Kelvin, which is just a way of saying the wavelengths of light are a certain wavelength, but it's a warm light compared to daylight, which is a cool light, which is 5600 degrees Kelvin. Here we've got an LED light, and this is the hot new light for film sets. There are a series of LEDs. They're very low power and can be run off a battery. You'll notice that this LED light is daylight balanced right now. You can simply add a gel to balance it for your tungsten lights. This is a fluorescent style light. They're very popular because they're low power and low heat. This is a 2 bank, but they can come in 4 banks. They can come in 6 banks. These are only 2 feet lamps, but they can come in 4 feet or bigger. Here we've got a soft bank, and this is actually a cover that goes over top of a light and has a hunk of cloth diffusion in it. And it's just a really good light for shooting interviews or some general set lighting, but it's very popular for soft lighting. This covers the basic light units you're going to find in your set. There are other variations on these, but these are the basics. So we hope you enjoyed this tip. We hope you come back to Framelines for more.
Framelines went on location for the shoot of the short film, Accidental Art.
Thanks for the drink.
It looked like it was getting really hot on the roof. Thought you could use a break.
Nice, cake.
It's my birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Artie didn't even remember my birthday.
I remembered. And I got you this.
That's really awful.
Yeah, well, you know, you said you'd been painting and you were having some trouble, so I got you a brush.
Thanks, it's great.
All right, cool.
Accidental Art is a dark comedy. It's something that's kind of a cross between Blake Edwards and Quentin Tarantino. We shot this in August, and it was an interesting shoot. We We wanted to give it the most professional look we could, so I asked Greg Sabo to be the cinematographer, and he brought with him the whole grip truck full of professional equipment.
Accidental Art, we had 2 locations. We shot some exteriors in Pickerington, but the interiors, at that particular location, we kind of wanted to give something a little different look, so we came to Canal Winchester at my house.
One of the things I love is that there's this, it's a 100-and-something-year-old cinematic trick, which is we shot the outside of one house and then we shot the inside of another house. I mean, we shot this beautiful outside of a house in Pickerington, as I thought the look of that house was great. But the kitchen was too small, so to get the kitchen we wanted, we drove 3 miles away to shoot in the inside of Greg's house. And in the edit, no one can tell, no one even thinks about, it doesn't even occur to the viewer that these aren't the same house. It's just one of those old cinematic tricks that I love so much.
Well, I worked on Accidental Art for a couple of reasons. One, it's a possibility for a full-length feature. And Ross and I have talked numerous times about what it would take to make that happen. So one would be, you got to have a trailer or a short at least to show, you know, what it might be about. But secondly, it's just to be able to, I love independent filmmaking for the creative license of it and the ability to do things you don't normally get to do.
It's a 6-minute short film, but it's really the first 6 minutes of what I intend to do as the next feature film. I don't like to do trailers because in a trailer, you know, a lot of times people have seen a trailer and then the movie was terrible.
For me to get involved in Accidental Art, visually I have to have some input. I knew I had the depth of look of something, I could create something that would fit the piece.
One of the reasons I wanted to use the red camera is normally you'd have to shoot on the really expensive 35mm film cameras to get a certain look. I like the shallow depth of field. I like being able to control what is the viewer focused on. The red camera affords that opportunity to a filmmaker. It's having shallow depth of field is another tool in the arsenal, and for us, for this story, that was crucially important to have that tool to tell this story.
Being an owner of a red, it certainly made it a lot easier to use that format. But, you know, most independent filmmakers really, you know, the red is a hot item. And if they get a chance to use it, they want to. Ross wanted to entertain the idea of using the red. I mean, we could have shot of various different formats, but, you know, why not use the best you can? I went with a high contrast look because it's one of the things I love, and why I love being able to work on an independent project. And independent means, to me, means a little more creative license. And working on commercials a lot, sometimes you're kind of told is the way they want things to look because they're paying you to create that look. So with Accidental Art, I just wanted the opportunity to go with a contrast look because it's been so long since I've been able to add ratio to something. I mean, seriously, it's like, and it fit the piece. I just felt like, hey, there's nothing wrong with something being slightly dark up front and a little hot in the back and not quite sure what's going on, but that's the mystery of it.
This film has already played in 5 different countries. It's played at 11 different film festivals. It's played in Beverly Hills. It's played in Dubai. It's played in Australia. The finished 6-minute film has already done a lot of things. We're very happy with it.
Peter John Ross hosts a roundtable discussion with my casting crew from the short film The Funny Man.
They say that everyone's life is like a book. The pages are days, the chapters are years. Some have happy endings and some are tragic. And hell, let's be honest, some just make for a dull and boring read. But every character in every book has a routine. For me, it's a morning run, a feeble but consistent attempt at exercise, right down to the daily wave to Mrs. Cross, a fitting name for the neighbor lady who sits on her front porch like a sentinel, never waves back at me. Hell, I don't know why. Some things in life you try to figure out, others you just acknowledge. But with me, acknowledgement usually comes with a big side dish of denial. And trust me, I know a lot about denial.
Who came up with the idea for The Funny Man?
That would be Mr. McGrainer.
I was sitting in a fast food Italian restaurant, so we can't say names, but and I was hearing this music playing, just, I don't know, Italian operatic music, and I just thought of this. Everything I do starts with a picture in my mind, and then I try to build some kind of story around it so I could shoot that picture. And so I went home and put in an opera called Symphony of Sorrowful Songs on loop and wrote this 6-page story about a man that's kind of a semi-celebrity comedian, and by observing comedians, just they seem like they are pretty down.
Depressive lot.
They seem like, you know, it seems like the joke is on stage and everybody's laughing, but having all these people laughing at you is also like, I mean, when they come off the stage, it's like
sad clowns,
Absolutely.
laughing on the outside, crying on the inside. And then he brought the 6-page story to me, and the first thing I said was like, dude, what, this is how you think I am, a sad, depressed person? He goes, no. Remember,
so it's not always about you.
You were qualifying it, remember? You said, no, I didn't write about you. It's like the similarities, come on. I mean, you know, it was about a stand-up comedian who had that not quite broken through type of success, you know, still paying the bills, successful in that respect, and that he's making a living at it, but kind of missed that opportunity to bust out. And so, you know, and that's what I did. I did stand up for years and opted to, instead of continuing to pursue that career, opted for the radio career, which turned out very nicely. No
But you still
complaints.
do stand-up, right?
Still love stand-up. yeah.
You still do, like, you host the local
Still
comedians?
host on Thursday nights just to keep my foot in the water, and I keep writing stand-up. So yeah, it's still my first love as far as writing goes, because the immediacy of it's terrific. But I did identify with what the character was talking about, because I've seen comedians like that. I've seen
the career comedians.
They're career comics. So the guy that he initially was talking about is out there, and I think what the Funny Man is probably, after we took another swipe at rewriting it, it's a kind of a combination of all those people that I've met over the course of the years, and probably a little bit of myself in there too, because
If you ask anybody who's been off their game for 6 months, no matter what that game is, they'll tell you that first step back is less than steady. Awkward, in fact. Making me pine for a change in venue, one with more familiarity. Because nothing about this feels familiar. And then it happens. The glass of wine purchased, you're told, by the beautiful stranger. I'm stymied by the role reversal, and after 6 months of no game, I've got to decide if I've got to play.
Shouldn't I be sending you the drink?
From where I was sitting, it didn't look like you were doing much of anything. That's why I sent it over. You look sort of sad. Almost like a painting.
Pitiful sad or lost my grandma sad?
Well, I don't know. Did your grandmother die?
Yeah, about 15 years ago.
Ah, then I guess that just leaves pitiful.
Did you do rehearsals?
We did one. We just read through, but I think we talked a lot more than we read through.
That was the thing I was noticing. Like I was working with Wayne to get the shots ready, and they just, the greatest thing is they were just talking as people because they didn't know each other, and so it was just kind of like, it was just, they had just met, and they had just met in the movie, and I thought I think it clicked because of that. I mean, it was kind of cool. I had never seen.
One thing I like to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse until I feel really, really, really good about it. But I think in this instance, it was good that we only read through it maybe once. So there was still this. We still weren't familiar with each other.
Spontaneity of it.
Yeah, we still weren't quite familiar with each other. Like when you really do meet somebody for the first time, that was just, I think, really there.
And I'm not big on the whole, like, stick to the script anyway. I mean, if you're feeling it and it's more natural for you to be yourself and say what you would say as that, that's so much cooler to me.
Well, we cut a lot of it. Yeah.
Speaking of cutting,
cut a lot of it. It could have been a feature. If we would have kept all the restaurant scenes in, it would have been a feature. It wouldn't have been a good feature, but it would have been a feature. It was too long.
People would have been like, serious?
Yeah.
Serious.
It did feel like we did one movie and then sort of started on another one when we got into the restaurant scene because it was a whole different thing.
Whole different feel for you?
Yeah. I don't know. It was just, and I knew it was coming, and I liked that. And they had a rough cut when they brought me in.
I was introduced to Matt through Dino. Like they had known each other from the Funny Bone, and he took a look at the rough cut. I was like, see this whole last stuff? We just kind of have to rebuild that, but like in a completely different way.
And he didn't tell me that until, he was just like, just watch this and see what you think. And I was like, the last half I don't like. I was just initially just came off that way, and they were like, okay, good, because we reshot it, and that's why we need you to do this. So I was like, okay, cool.
It's like, we didn't like it either.
And it just, I don't know, I really liked it because it's like this whole story of him and his everyday routine, and then you just sort of stop and take one night, and the story unfolds right there.
I've discussed this with you before. I've always wanted to go back in and find some way to just use that second half of the film and find some intro that makes that second half. See, he hates that because he feels like I'm stealing his first half of the film away from him.
No. I don't feel like it's. I just as two separate films. Like, I just know that
not to be two separate films.
Right. Yeah.
But since it does feel like two different movies, and that whole restaurant thing is kind of self-contained, if there was something that was written beforehand to set up just that, him, where his head's at before he goes to that restaurant.
I don't think it should
And this
be
is where it gets into
two different
saving.
movies. I think you need that whole. I think everything, because you're the main character, and then you're following you and your sort
But
of
think
story,
about the
and
cost
then
you would save, because then I can shoot my original ending to go with the first half of the movie, and he could shoot a precursor to his, and we'd have two new movies, but save
Hell,
cost
we'd
of half
have three
the
all
footage.
along.
Thanks for watching Framelines. If you'd like to know more about the show, check us out online at framelines.tv. And there you have it. We'll see you again on Framelines.